Hi guys, a new article on Evergrande has come out, and basically the company is in such a bad place that the chairman is actually selling his assets to cover the debt. Let's talk about that and also what that will do to the stock market in the US, obviously, as well. And also I'm gonna give you a date because there is gonna be the next step, the next Evergrande phase, and it's happening sooner than you think. So let's dive straight into it. And as you can see, I'm driving. I do everything as I'm driving because I'm just leaving work now. But basically, unless you've been living under a rock, you know that Evergrande was a big headline in the past, and what it did, it crashed the stock market, and that was out of absolute fear, just pure fear. And if you be subscribed, you know that it was just the fear like driving the market down, and not the actual value of, for example, US companies lending money to Evergrande. Like the amount of money that was actually lent to Evergrande by US companies was just under $1 billion. You understand? This is peanuts. However, the bit of news being so big, and probably quite big for China as well, and we know that when China is struggling quite a lot, it also affects the stock market in the US, obviously. And so what happened, for example, in 2015, when the stock market actually had a very bad year and actually went down because China, the speed at which China was growing actually slowed down a lot. And so back then we had a bit of a crash, and that could be again happening again. Now, why is this important? Because at the time of recording today it was an incredible example, and I'm gonna dive deeper in what happened today, in what is happening now in the market, and you can look at it for yourself, is that the market is in a state of emergency. If you look at what happened back in 2020, obviously last year, when, and even before, it all started after 2008. Basically, the Fed has been able to prop up the market by simply injecting money and just printing money, just the money printer going and going and going. And just this way, basically the stock market kept going up. Okay, there's been crashes, I'm not gonna hide that. However, they were short-lived and very well manageable and managed by the Fed. Now, the difference now, and it's very big, is that the money printer, I don't think is gonna work anymore in this specific occasion, because they've basically cranked it up so much, they printed so much bloody money that there is obviously this kind of, I'm not gonna call it runaway inflation yet, but it's definitely very bad inflation. And again, another thing that you must know. So we are now in this bad position where the Fed cannot bail us out anymore. They are still injecting money in the market, which is insane to just even think of. Like, with all this inflation, the Fed is still injecting money in the bond market. More on that later in the video. But it's just insane. So this, obviously, inflation will keep increase. Like, there is no, it will still go up in the next months, weeks and months and days and everything. It's basically happening, and everything is blamed on the supply chain. Guys, they printed more than and now it should be more than 40% of the supply of dollars between last year during the crash and today. So we're gonna probably like 45%, considering how much is being printed. 45% of the dollars have been injected in the market. Now, what do you think would happen? Inflation, duh. Like, it's just so obvious what's gonna happen. So this reaction is obvious, and it will lead to then things like the Evergrande shambles to being so much more impactful on the market. Okay, the bit of news of the Evergrande could be maybe not actually a big hit for the market, but basically this market is looking for any reason at all to crash. and then because basically the safety net, there was J Powell with his printing machine, like just cranking out dollars like a maniac. Well, they're pulling it away. This is the first month they are removing some of the money that they are injecting in it. Then they will have to keep going. Like the amount of the amount of inflation is actually increasing by the minute. Like it's just going up. And again, they've been blaming it on supply chain issues. Well, that is true. There are those as well. But then if you consider how much money is being borrowed by all the central banks, how much money is being injected in the market by obviously the Fed, as I told you, well, it's obvious that there's going to be a very high inflation. So there is also increased pressure on the Fed to increase interest rates. And when that happens, well, it won't be pretty, guys, because it's not going to be one increase. I really hope they're going to do it right. Like, I'm now hoping that the Fed will be able to manage the news, like keeping communication open and keeping their promise as they did. Like when they announced the tapering, it was 100% announced, and they just said, yeah, okay, as we told you, the tapering is coming. But then if they just all of a sudden say, okay, no more tapering now, no more tapering, we're gonna just cut off our supply of cash into the bond market, no more of that, no tapering, it's just a cut off, like from today no more money, then we're going to increase the interest rate because Biden has gone crazy and he wants us to do it. Like, for example, if J Powell gets replaced and he loses his seat, maybe the new person can say, okay, I'll just have to do what Biden says, because obviously when you start a new job, what happens? Well, you want to please your bosses, your stakeholders, let's say. Well, obviously what this person might do is say, well, obviously Biden is a very important stakeholder for me, and I'm just gonna cut the supply of money and do whatever he says. So we might have all these obviously like very extreme measures, and the stock market, oh my God, guys, I really want you to be aware that, first of all, the market will know that. The market will know that, and it will know that at a very, very quickly. And what is going to be very important is to understand when, like, because the actual crash that I'm expecting is going to be very violent, and I'm not going to even, probably it's going to be very similar to 2020, I must say, because I'm expecting something very big to happen. And some very big event could be Evergrande, and I'm gonna make more videos on Evergrande, but basically it could be Evergrande, it could be, like I said, J Powell losing his seat, and then some rumors coming out on the new Fed policy, and then, like I said, it could be a very extreme one, but basically something disturbing the stock market, and it will start crashing. But first, and this is what I want you to know, first, the bond market will show some signs, and it will, for example, definitely show, for example, the one month treasury bill, which is the shortest term US security, the one that matures the quickest. It just has 1 month. You know, we have the 10 years, which is the benchmark, and then the longest one is the 30 years. Okay, so the shortest one is the 1 month. The 1 month will go through the roof, and all the other ones will just flatten out. So that is a sign, a traditional sign of extreme uncertainty, and that normally precedes this kind of black swan events. So when they basically give us a signal and show, because what they do, that's very clever. So basically these big companies, these big banks, what they do, they just go and dump the money into bonds. They just move it. They start moving it from the stocks into bonds. Obviously they cannot do that everything in one day. It's just impossible. But this will create this chain that will basically very quickly in a matter of days crash the market. Now, I'm obviously gonna make more videos, updates on this. At the time of recording, I can't see that happening. This is gonna happen very quickly, like I said. So literally from one day to the other, it might happen. Like, it definitely wasn't today. It might be tomorrow, guys. But like I said, I'm gonna make video updates when I see that happening, so that you're always up to date. And by the way, if you are part of my Patreon, you would also know when I buy and sell my stocks. Link in the description below, so that you obviously know, because I'm gonna sell everything or just take some action to try to obviously protect my investments, and then I'm gonna make the video later in the day. So yeah, stick around, subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.